My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our DUK Dogs podcast is spelt uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home.
Hello once again, everybody. My name is Josh Miller, and I'm here to bring you the latest episode of DUK Dogs. Before we get rolling here, let's make sure we spend time and thank our sponsors that make this show possible. Thank you to Eukanuba. Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020 is the blend of food that I personally feed my dogs at the kennel, and I absolutely love this food. These dogs do fantastic on it, so go check them out, www.eukanuba.com. Also, thank you to Sitka Gear. Sitka Gear is not only your premium go-to for all outdoor hunting in the field wear, but also your everyday wear. Go check them out, www.sitkagear.com. Thank you to Gun Dog Supply. Gun Dog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs. They're a great company and great people. Go check them out, www.gundogsupply.com. And also thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck has your 5-star crash test rated kennel, both in the intermediate and the large sizes. So no matter how big or small your dog is, you can travel knowing that you are traveling with them the safest way possible. www.luckyduck.com. And last but not least, thank you to Retriever Roadmap. Retriever Roadmap is my online training program that will help you walk through step by step with you and your dog at home. Find your route, find what works best for you and your dog, and go accomplish your goals. www.retrieverroadmap.com. So I hope everyone is having a great, get it? Great. If you listened to the last episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I hope you're having a great, great day. I'm having a great day. I'm having a great week. And I don't intend to stop that trend. So hope you all are in that same boat with me. It is hot. We're still fighting the heat up here, which means, we're still very early starts. We are, long, hot days. But you know what? Again, if you listen to the episodes previous, my team is doing fantastic. They are happy. They're chipper. They're smiling. I'm not going to say they're not tired. I'm tired. I know they're tired. But this is part of the gig. You got to be out there when you got to make hay while the sun shines, if you will. And we are, I think, as a team, doing a fantastic job. So I'm very proud of them, and I hope you at home are finding ways to get out with your dog and be productive even in this heat. Early in the morning, late in the evening, short sessions. Be intentional with your training. Don't just go out and throw some marks. Be intentional. Go try to accomplish an objective and be done. So hope you guys are having a great start to the week again. But I want to start off this week by telling you guys something, and I'm a little pissed off. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm a little frustrated. I'm a little irritated because I had to have the second phone call of the week last night that was in this same ballpark. And what this really revolves around is I had to have a phone call with someone in tears the entire time on the other end of the line because of a situation that their dog has put themselves in, or put them in, rather, and they just are out of options. So let me kind of tell you, what's going on. I'm going to use last night, for example. So I get a phone call from an ex, I shouldn't say ex, because our clients never become ex-clients, but a client that we had trained their previous dog, great relationship. They moved a little further away, so they weren't going to send their next dog in. And this dog, the second dog, is aggressive towards kids. So the dog just turned 2.5, I think. And these are great people. I know they socialize their dogs well. I know they work with their dogs well. I know that they are very active, especially obedience. They're just very in tune. They have high standards, for their dogs. But they had a situation where now second time where the kid, or the dog rather, was face to face with a young kid, in this case 2 years old, and the dog was just aggressive. The dog has been aggressive towards other dogs. Not necessarily, it's by the sounds of it, adults, but dogs and kids. And the reason this irritates me so much is because my heart genuinely breaks for the person on the other line as we're having this conversation. Because think of you and your situation with your dog. If your dog were to all of a sudden become aggressive and you don't know where to go or what, where to turn, right? So in this situation, the family loves the dog. There's been a few incidents now. There's kids involved, so there's the family atmosphere. And mom is looking at this going, I'm the one that has been there when these situations have come up. The dog is 80-some pounds. I'm a small woman. I cannot physically handle the dog when he goes into that mode. And I'm just really scared. Like when she was in tears last night, one of the things she told me was when she was pulling the dog off of this kid, this 2-year-old kid, all she could think about is he going to have a face? Think about that. Think about that situation. So naturally, I'm very empathetic, trying to understand the situation. Of course, you're never going to fully understand the situation, but we start going through the general checklist, right? So was the dog properly socialized? And, again, I know her previous dog, and she's like, Josh, we didn't do anything different with this dog. This dog went a lot of places with us, was around kids, was around other dogs, was around tons of people, very well socialized, no major issues, no, negative, things that could cause this as a defensiveness. It seemed like when that dog started to reach 2 and started to get mature, these things just started popping up. Okay. But then it's just funny when you have these conversations, sometimes little things come up oh yeah, there was that time a year ago, or there was that time you start kind of, recalling some of these things. So I go through my general checklist of, socialization. Is the dog hurt? That's always a good one. Is the dog hurt? And hurt might not be something that you can physically see. Hurt could be, there was a dog one time that we had a situation where it was a dog that we had trained actually at 4 or 5 years old. All of a sudden was being really aggressive towards people when they came to pet him. And this is about the sweetest dog on the face of the planet. Well, what ended up happening is he had a severe urinary tract infection that was making him extremely uncomfortable. They found it. They took care of it. He's back to his sweet self, right? So that's always a question. Okay, is the dog hurt? Is there an issue? And her response was, Josh, there's nothing wrong with this dog because she's just seen this thing kind of pop up throughout the dog's life as the dog's been getting older. And it's just now becoming, I think, more apparent. I think the biggest thing is it's more apparent that there's an issue, something has to be done. So we start kind of digging in, more and more. And one thing she says is, what's funny is that 4 of the litter mates that I know of that were out of this litter all have aggression issues as well. And I'm like, I'm not going to use her name, but I'm like, that might be your answer right there. I mean, that I don't believe in coincidences. That's not coincidental. That's a trait. There's something inside of that dog. right? And here's the bottom line of it, because they were talking like, okay, do we send the dog up to you for more training? Okay, and I'm like, guys, like, I can take the dog in for training, and I know we can do great things as far as obedience and everything else. But the problem is in this situation where we believe that there is something deeper, there is something inside of this dog, a screw loose that we may not be able to ever tighten. Could you ever trust a dog? Could you let the dog go in a park and not be deathly afraid of something happening? The bigger issue here is what if. The what if factor is completely paralyzing to me. What if? What if the dog killed that 2-year-old? Is that a burden that you are willing to bear? Is that a burden you're willing to live with the rest of your life? This is the stuff nobody wants to talk about, folks. But here's why this pisses me off. Because they go back to the breeder and they're like, hey, having these issues. I know other litter mates have had these issues, and the breeder got defensive and fought with the lady on the phone, saying that that kind of stuff isn't passed on. You guys haven't done your homework, or you guys haven't done your part of it at home. Blah 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 blah. Well, guess what? Why do we believe that genetics are passed on only when we want them to be passed on? Why do we believe that drive is passed on? Why do we believe that, I believe that vocalization is passed on, that good solid mouth is passed on, the temperament is passed on? Why do we think that all that is okay? And then all of a sudden something like this comes up and they're like, that doesn't get passed on. Certain lines are going to do that. It's just the truth of it. That's why when we get these dogs in, tremendous effort goes into understanding them inside and out. I'm not bringing dogs here and breeding them right away. That's why they have to be with me for years before I'm like, yep, they check all the boxes. There's no way that I can know that in such a short period of time. This is why it is so important to get with the right breeder. These people right here are in a lose-lose situation. I'm going to say lose-lose-lose, because the first loss is the dog's dead. The dog has to be put down. End of story. The next lose is the dog gets rehomed. And the reason I say that's a loss is because you have the family involved. She made a comment last night that, this is my son's absolute best friend. My daughter, who is in college by the sounds of it, is literally screaming at the mother, saying that this is all their fault and they can't even think about doing something like this, to him, as far as, putting him down, and how awful they are. Like, come on. This is likely avoided by getting with the right breeder. Getting with a breeder that looks at the big picture, that looks at everything, not just this is important and I'm going to choose that as important and just be done. Now, I'm not going to say this across the board, right? Because you can not do your job socializing. You can not do your job with obedience. You can not do your job with control, and you can still have an issue. But why I think this is to the point that I said at the beginning I'm pissed off is because I have had 3 or 4 messages this week from people that are looking for a puppy, and I tell them that we're about 1.5 to a 2-year wait list, and the response is, I'm looking for something today. Like, you don't get great dogs today. Nothing you get that is great is likely happening today. These people are in the same exact situation. And she talked about that last night as she's fighting, through her tears to, communicate with me, is we should have never gotten this dog because it was a spur of the moment. We hadn't even thought about it. It was just this litter came up and we knew, people that were getting a puppy, and we just got one. Like, it's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to have those conversations. I had another one, it was end of last week, similar but different. Different in this dog had exercise-induced collapse. And I think just naturally because it was warmer out, they saw it. But the dog tipped over right in the backyard in front of the family, and then they find this out. That is avoided by doing the health testing. I understand, from a breeder standpoint, I get it, it's expensive to do these tests. I get it, but don't we owe it to these puppies? Don't we owe it to these dogs to be producing the absolute best dogs we possibly can? Health-wise is a major part of that. So again, in front of the family, 3 kids, now we have a dog that we're scared to even do much with. And we don't want the dog to die in front of our kids. It's just so frustrating to me. And I think one of the biggest reasons it's so frustrating is it's like more and more people are breeding dogs every day. More and more quote-unquote breeders are popping up every day. Please, you guys, please, please, please do your homework. Don't put yourselves in these positions. I feel bad for the dogs. I feel bad for the family a tremendous amount, but I do feel bad for the dogs. That dog with EIC, you think that's their fault? They have to live with that. Avoided if tested, if health tested and done properly. Super frustrating to me, you guys. So that's my little rant for the day. Just, oh my gosh, it just kills me. It's hard for me to have those conversations and I'm not in tears myself. I've never even met this dog. I mean, I just absolutely feel for these people. It's just incredible. Not good. Not good, you guys. Now, if you've done your homework, smile, pat yourself in the back, and maybe take a moment today to appreciate what you have. Because I promise you, these families I just talked about would do anything to hit the rewind button and do it the way that you did it. If you did it right, kudos to you. But you're also reaping the benefits of it too. So I want to talk about standards. I think this is so important. And the reason I want to talk about standards is because I believe that you will always get, not always, most of the time you are going to get what your standard is in life, no matter what. If you have a mediocre standard, you are likely going to live in mediocrity. If you have an excellent standard, you are going to likely live in excellence. And I think this transfers over to our dogs. Let me tell you a little story. I have a dog in right now that lives with a great person, great human being, a single guy. And this dog, growing up, has always had tremendous potential. This dog has always shown it. The dog has talent. The dog has a head on his shoulders. The dog has the athleticism. I mean, everything that you look for, this dog checks the boxes. And yet, I can go through the training with the dog. The dog's fantastic. The dog's doing great. He's under control. He's boom, 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 in tune, sharp, laser focus. But then goes back home for a week, 2 weeks. The owner comes out, runs some drills, and this dog is all over the place. Not under control, not focused, just completely not the dog. Not the dog that we see anyway. I believe this is because the standard in which the handler who is handling the dog on a regular basis has changed. I think the dog elevates when he's with me because I have a very high standard of what I'm asking you to do. And I believe that the reason things get lackadaisical and they get sloppy is because that standard changes once the dog goes home. The biggest thing, my biggest job this year is going to be to train the owner to raise the bar, raise the level of standard. Because this dog is going to continue to fall back and not be as good as he was meant to be otherwise. Now, the reason I say your standard is because not everyone needs excellence out of their dog. Not everyone is looking for the epitome. Not everyone needs the highly trained. Not everyone needs the blind retrieves. Not everyone needs casting. Not everyone needs, a dog that, quite frankly, I'm not going to say that. I believe everyone needs a dog to be under control and obedient. That I will say. But everyone doesn't need all the other stuff. So that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if your standard is that when I say sit, you sit now, your dog is likely going to do that. If your standard is, I say sit, and on the third, fourth, or fifth time, you finally sit down, and that's okay to you, your dog is going to pick up on that, lower their level of standard, and then that's what they're going to follow through on. You see it all the time. The standards in which you hold yourself to are going to trickle down to your dog. And here's the thing. You can't change your standard on a day-to-day. So you can't be at... Let me talk to you a little bit about... I'm going to change gears a little bit because I think this is so good. I'm reading a book right now that Ed Milet has written. It's called The Power of One More. If you guys are at all interested in just going to that next level, I highly, highly encourage you to read this book from a life standpoint. But I think you can transfer a lot of this into your training, into your work, but life. Like, this is really, really good stuff. One of my favorite things so far that he has talked about is he believes each one of us has a thermostat. Okay? So let me explain the thermostat. So you walk into a room. If the room is too hot, if the room is too cold, you adjust the thermostat. It doesn't matter what is happening outside of that room. You can have that room be whatever degree you want it to be. That's your standard. That's your identity. That's who you are. So his theory on this is that if you're a 75-degree person, you are going to, and that's your standard, you are going to keep your standard at 75 degrees. If you are a 100-degree person, you are going to keep your thermostat at 100 degrees, and no matter what happens outside, it could be blowing 10 degrees, snow, windy, the outside conditions could be against you. Your life, work sucks, you had a death in the family, you blew your ACL, all the stuff, right? Like, his theory is if your thermostat, your standard is set at 100 degrees, it doesn't matter what is going on outside, you are going to stay at 100 degrees. You will find a way to do that. On the flip side, if you're a 75-degree person and things really start going well for you, so like your outside temperature all of a sudden starts rising, right? So like your workouts are going great. Like you feel good. You just got a promotion at work. The kid just hit his first home run at the Little League game. All this stuff is going great. And it's raising to 100 degrees. His theory is also that if you're a 75-degree person, you'll find a way to come back down to 75 degrees. I have a lot of those people in my life that I've really tried to, and some of these people are family, so you can't detach from these people, but I've just been conscious of how I get wrapped up into it. Okay? One of my family members got a brand new car, a beautiful Lexus SUV, beautiful. I was like, oh my gosh, congrats, that is awesome. And what was the response? Yeah, it's okay, it's used. Like, that's a 75 degree. That's probably a 60 degree person. Stuff is going great. You should be ecstatic. You should be happy, and yet you lower yourself. It's not that good. Find something that's wrong with it. Bring it back down. I think with your training, you do the same kind of thing. You can have so many things that are going against you. Like right now, it is 100 degrees by noon. It is humid. It is not fun to be outside working. Guess what we're doing? We're getting up at 3:15, 3:30 in the morning. We are getting after it early. And you know what my team says? Oh my gosh, by noon, 1 o'clock, like, we have all of our work done for the day. We have the whole afternoon that we can go enjoy ourselves. Not, oh my gosh, I have to get up early. Not, oh my gosh, this sucks. We are living our lives at a 100-degree thermostat. It'd be so easy to let those outside issues come and weigh us down and pull us back. We are not allowing that to happen. I think this is really, really interesting because, again, let's twist this a little bit. Hunting. Let's talk about hunting. So, if your standard is that you train throughout the spring, summer, you have that first hunt, and your dog breaks. And if in your head you're like, I'm not going to make this correction, in front of my friends, I'm just going to let it go. That has become your standard then. You are allowing it to happen. You're accepting it. You have to own that. Because the dog's looking around going, okay, and the game's changed. I don't have to do this anymore. I get to go do that. That's exactly the situation I talked about before, right? With that dog that was doing so great with me, and then they'd go home and it would just completely unwind. The game changed. He was living in 100 degrees, and then all of a sudden goes to 75. It's like, oh, okay, I guess this is what we do. And that's where the unwinding happens. It's so interesting how much synergy there is between you start looking at these life lessons and how it relates to our dogs. Have your high standards in your dogs, in your life. Have high standards. You will get what your standards are. Now, it's going to take time to change those. I mean, if you're looking at it going, gosh, I've just been letting my dog kind of lack, right? Like, I've been using the excuses of, example, I have a very good friend of mine that was working out very, very religiously. Great. And then all of a sudden one day I was like, my back just doesn't feel right. I'm going to take the day off. I think that was about 4 weeks ago. I bet I can count on one hand the number of times he's quote unquote worked out since. That's because his thermostat, even though he had elevated himself to 100, was always at 75. He's always going to come back. He raised his thermostat to 100, but his standard was still 75. This is why it's so important to change your standard. You can raise your thermostat, but if you don't raise your standard, it's going to find a way to come back down. It's going to find a way to come back down to whatever your standard is. You have to change your standard if you want change. Change your thermostat. Change your standard. Go be who you want to be. If you don't want to be 100 degrees, that's cool. Be 85. Be 90. But don't sell yourself short. Don't sell your dog short. I just have a hard time with people that have so much to give, so much potential, so much they can do, and they do nothing with it. You know how many times it has killed me to have dogs come in that have all the potential in the world, that have so much to give, so much talent, so they just want to go do this. And the owner's like, I don't know. Like, it's not my call, right? They're not my dog. But you do control you. And if you want to make a change, if you want to elevate yourself, change your thermostat, change your standard. I'd highly recommend going and getting that book. I just told Whitney that it's taken me forever. She's like, gosh, you've been reading that book for a long time now. Because normally I get through a book fairly quickly and I enjoy reading. But the reason it's taken me so long to get through this book is because I'll read a chapter and then I have to reread it and reread it and read it. I really, really, really like this. So go check out that book. But think about that, guys. This week, just think about it. Where's my thermostat? Where's it set at? And what is my standard? And then where do you want it to be? And then go make an active effort to go set yourself, both your thermostat and your standard, where you want it to be. Hope you guys have a great week. Hope you have a fantastic week. And I will talk with you guys later on.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to Eukanuba, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.